Section 71 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Didier. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 71. The King and the Ants Tree. There was a king who had a very beautiful daughter, and he said, whoever would cut down an ant tree which he had in his kingdom, without brushing off the ants, should marry his daughter. Now a great many came and tried, but no one could do it, for the ants fell out upon them and stung them, and they were forced to brush them off. There was always someone watching to see if they brushed the ants off. Then Anansi went, and the king's son was set to watch him. When they showed him the tree, he said, "Wow, that's nothing. I know I can do that." So they gave him the axe, and he began to hew, but each blow he gave the tree, he shook himself and brushed himself, saying all the while, "Do you see me do that? I suppose you think I'm brushing myself, but I'm not." And so he went on until he had cut down the tree. But the boy thought he was only pretending to brush himself all the time, and the king was obliged to give him his daughter. End of section 71.
Section 72 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Celinda Mendoza. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 72. The Little Child and the Pumpkin Tree. There was once a poor widow who had 6 children. One day, when she was going out to look for something to eat, for she was very poor, she met an old man sitting by the riverside. He said to her, "Good morning," and she answered, "Good morning, father." He said to her, "Will you wash my head?" She said she would, so she washed it. And when she was going away, he gave her a stampee, a small coin, and told her to go a certain distance and she would see a large tree full of pumpkins. She was then to dig a hole at the root of the tree and bury the money, and when she had done so, she was to call for as many pumpkins as she liked, and she should have them. So the woman went, and did as she was told, and she called for 6 pumpkins, 1 for each child, and 6 came down. And she carried them home, and now they always had pumpkins enough to eat, for whenever they wanted any, the woman had only to go to the tree and call, and they had as many as they liked. One morning, when she got up, she found a little baby before the door, so she took it up and carried it in, and took care of it. Every day she went out, but in the morning she boiled enough pumpkins to serve the children all day. One day, when she came back, she found the food was all gone. So she scolded her children and beat them for eating it all up. They told her they had not taken any, that it was the baby. But she would not believe them, and said, "How could a little baby get up and help itself?" But the children still persisted it was the baby. So one day, when she was going out, she put some pumpkin in a calabash, and set a trap over it. When she was gone, the baby got up as usual to eat the food, and got its head fastened in the trap, so that it could not get out, and began knocking its head about and crying out, "Oh, do loose me, for that woman will kill me when she comes back." When the woman came in, she found the baby fastened in the trap, so she beat it well, and turned it out of doors, and begged her children's pardon for having wronged them. Then after she turned the baby out, he changed into a great big man, and went to the river, where he saw the old man sitting by the river side, who asked him how to wash his head, as he had asked the poor woman, but the man said no, he would not wash his dirty head, and so he wished the old man good-bye. Then the old man asked him if he would like to have a pumpkin, to which he said yes, and the old man told him to go until he saw a large tree with plenty of pumpkins on it, and then he must ask for one. So he went until he got to the tree, and the pumpkins looked so nice he could not be satisfied with one, so he called out, "10 pumpkins, come down!" and the 10 pumpkins fell and crushed him. End of section 72.
Of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Clarica. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 73. The Brother and His Sisters. There were, once upon a time, 3 sisters and a brother. The sisters were all proud, and one was very beautiful, and she did not like her little brother, because, she said, he was dirty. Now this beautiful sister was to be married, and the brother begged their mother not to let her marry, as he was sure the man would kill her, for he knew his house was full of bones. So the mother told her daughter, but she would not believe it, and said she wouldn't listen to anything that such a dirty little scrub said, and so she was married. Now it was agreed that one sister was to remain with their mother, and the other was to go with the bride, and so they set out on their way. When they got to the beach, the husband picked up a beautiful tortoise-shell comb, which he gave to his bride. Then they got into the boat and rowed away over the sea, and when they reached their home, they were so surprised to see their little brother, for the comb had turned into their brother. They were not at all glad to see him, and the husband thought to himself he would kill him without telling his wife. When night came, the boy told the husband that at home his mother always put him to sleep in the blacksmith's shop, and so the husband said he should sleep in the smithy. In the middle of the night the man got up, intending to kill them all, and went to his shop to get his irons ready. But the boy jumped up as soon as he went in, and he said, "Boy, what is the matter with you?" So the boy said when he was at home his mother always gave him 2 bags of gold to put his head on. Then the man said he should have them, and went and fetched him 2 bags of gold, and told him to go to sleep. But the boy said, "Now mind, when you hear me snore I'm not asleep, but when I'm not snoring, then I'm asleep." Then the boy went to sleep and began to snore, and as long as the man heard the snoring he blew his bellows. But as soon as the snoring stopped, the man took his irons out of the fire, and the boy jumped up. Then the man said, "Why, what's the matter? Why, can't you sleep?" The boy said, "No, for at home my mother always gave me 4 bags of money to lie upon." Well, the man said he should have them, and brought him 4 bags of money. Then the boy told him again the same thing about his snoring, and the man bade him go to sleep, and he began to snore, and the man to blow his bellows until the snoring stopped. Then the man took out his irons again, and the boy jumped up, and the man dropped the irons, saying, "Why, what's the matter now that you can't sleep?" The boy said, "At home my mother always gives me 2 bushels of corn." So the man said he should have the corn, and went and brought it, and told him to go to sleep. Then the boy snored, and the man blew his bellows till the snoring stopped, and when he again took out his irons, and the boy jumped up, and the man said, "Why, what's it now?" The boy said, "At home my mother always goes to the river with a sieve to bring me some water." So the man said, "Very well, I will go, but I have a cock here, and before I go I must speak to it." Then the man told the cock if he saw anyone moving in the house he must crow. That the cock promised to do, and the man set off. Now, when the boy thought the man was gone far away, he got up and gave the cock some of the corn. Then he woke up his sisters and showed them all the bones the man had in the house, and they were very frightened. Then he took the 2 bags of gold on his shoulders, and told his sisters to follow him. He took them to the bay, and put them into the boat with the bags of gold, and left them whilst he went back for the 4 bags of money. When he was leaving the house he emptied the bags of corn to the cock, who was so busy eating he forgot to crow until they had got quite away. When the man returned home and could not find them in the house, he went to the river, where he found his boat gone, and so he had no way of going after them. When they landed at their own place, the boy turned the boat over and stove it in, so that it was of no use any more, and he took his sisters home and told their mother all that had happened. And his sisters loved him, and they lived very happily together afterwards, and do so still if they are not dead. End of section 73.
Section 74 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Scott Carpenter. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 74. The Girl and the Fish. There was once a girl who used to go to the river to fetch water, but when she went she was never in a hurry to come back, but stayed so long that they made up their minds to watch her. So one day they followed her to the river, and found when she got there she said something, the reciter forgets the words, and a fish came up and talked to her, and she did not like to leave it, for it was her sweetheart. So next day they went to the river to see if the fish would come up, for they remembered what the girl said and used the same words. Then up came the fish immediately, and they caught it and took it home and cooked it for dinner, and a part they set by, and gave to the girl when she came in. Whilst she was eating, a voice said,
"Do you know what you are eating? I am he you have so often talked with. If you look in the pig's tub, you will see my heart."
Then the voice told her to take the heart and wrap it up in a handkerchief and carry it to the river. When she got to the river she would see 3 stones in the water. She was to stand on the middle stone and dip the handkerchief 3 times into the water. All this she did, and then she sank suddenly, and was carried down to a beautiful place, where she found her lover changed from a fish into his proper form, and there she lived happily with him for ever. And this is the reason why there are mermaids in the water. End of section 74. Section 75 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Scott Carpenter. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 75. The Lion, the Goat, and the Baboon. A lion had a goat for his wife. One day Goat went out to market, and while she was gone, Lion went out in the wood, where he met with Baboon, who made friends with Lion for fear he would eat him, and asked him to go home with him. But the lion thought it would be a good chance, so he asked the baboon to go home with him and see his little ones. When they got home, the baboon said to the lion, "Why, you have got plenty of little goats here." The lion said, "Yes, they are my children." So the baboon said, "If they are little goats, and they are very good meat." So the lion said, "Don't make a noise, their mother will come presently, and we will see." So these little goats took no notice, but went out to meet their mother and told her what had passed. Their mother said to them, "Go back and take no notice, and I shall come home presently, and shall do for him." So she went and bought some molasses, and took it home with her. The lion said, "Are you come? What news?" "Oh," she said, "good news, taste here." He tasted and said, "It's very good, it's honey." And she said, "It's baboon's blood. They have been killing one today. The blood is running in the street, and everyone is carrying it away." The lion said, "Hush! There's one in the house, and we shall have him." At this the baboon rushed off, and when they looked for him he was gone, and never came near them again, which saved the little goats' lives. End of section 75.
Section 76 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Didier. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 76. Anansi and Baboon. Anansi and Baboon were disputing one day which was fattest. Anansi said he was sure he was fat, but Baboon declared he was fatter. Then Anansi proposed that they should prove it. So they made a fire and agreed that they should hang up before it and see which would drop most fat. Then Baboon hung up Anansi first, but no fat dropped. Then Anansi hung up Baboon, and very soon the fat began to drop, which smelled so good that Anansi cut a slice out of Baboon and said, "Oh, brother Baboon, you're fat for true." But Baboon didn't speak. So Anansi said, "Well, speak or not speak, I'll eat you every bit today," which he really did. But when he had eaten up all Baboon, the bits joined themselves together in his stomach and began to pull him about so much that he had no rest and was obliged to go to the doctor. The doctor told him not to eat anything for some days, then he was to get a ripe banana and hold it to his mouth. When the baboon, who would be hungry, smelled the banana, he would be sure to run up to eat it, and so he would run out of his mouth. So Anansi starved himself and got the banana and did as the doctor told him, but when he put the banana to his mouth, he was so hungry he couldn't help eating it. So he didn't get rid of the baboon, which went on pulling him about till he was obliged to go back to the doctor, who told him he would soon cure him. And he took the banana and held it to Anansi's mouth, and very soon the baboon jumped up to catch it and ran out of his mouth. And Anansi was very glad to get rid of him. And baboons, to this very day, like bananas. End of section 76.
Section 77 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Scott Carpenter. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 77. The Man and the Dokana Tree. There was once a man and his wife who were very poor, and they had a great many children. The man was very lazy and would do nothing to help his family. The poor mother did all she could. In the wood close by grew a dokana tree, which was full of fruit. Every day the man went and ate some of the fruit, but never took any home. So he ate until there were only 2 dokanas left on the tree. One he ate, and left the other. Next day, when he went for that one, he was obliged to climb up the tree to reach it. But when he got up, the dokana fell down. When he got down, the dokana jumped up, and so it went on until he was quite tired. Then he asked all the animals that passed by to help him, but they all made some excuse. They all had something to do. The horse had his work to do, or he would have no grass to eat. The donkey brayed. Last came a dog, and the man begged him hard to help him, so the dog said he would. Then the man climbed up the tree, and the dokana jumped to the ground again, when the dog picked it up and ran off with it. The man was very vexed, and ran after the dog, but it ran all the faster, so that the man could not overtake him. The dog, seeing the man after him, ran to the seashore, and scratching a hole in the ground, buried himself all but his nose, which he left sticking out. Soon after the man came up, and seeing the nose, cried out that he had never seen ground have nose, and catching hold of it he tugged till he pulled out the dog, when he squeezed him with all his might to make him give up the dokana. And that's why dogs are so small in their bodies to this very day. End of section 77.
Section 78 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 78. Nancy Fairy. There was once an old woman called Nancy Fairy. She was a witch, and used to steal all the little babies as soon as they were born, and eat them. One day she stole a little baby who was so beautiful that she had not the heart to eat her. But she took her home and brought her up. She called her daughter, named her Nancy Fairy after herself, and the girl called the old woman Granny. So the girl grew up, and the more she grew, the more beautiful she got. The old woman never let her daughter know of her doings, but one day, when she had brought a baby home and had locked herself in a room, her daughter peeped through a chink to see what she was about. And the old woman saw her shadow, and thought her daughter had seen what she was doing, and the daughter thought her granny had seen her, and was very much afraid. So the old woman asked her, "Nancy Fairy, did you see what I was doing?" "No, Granny." She asked the girl several times, "Nancy Fairy, did you see what I was doing?" And the girl always answered, "No, Granny." So the old woman took her to a hut in the wood, and left her there as a punishment. And she took her food every day. One day it happened that the king's servant going that way saw the beautiful girl come out of the hut. Next day he went again, and saw the same beautiful girl again. So he went home and told the prince that he could show him in the wood a girl more beautiful than he had ever seen. The prince went and saw the girl, and then sent a band of soldiers to fetch her home, and took her for his bride. A year later she had a baby. Soldiers were sent to keep guard at the gate, and the room was full of nurses. But in the middle of the night the old woman came in a whirlwind and put them all to sleep. She stole the child, and on going away gave the mother a slap on the mouth, which made her dumb. The next morning there was a great stir, and they said the mother had eaten the child. There was a trial, but the mother was let off that time. The next year she had another baby, and the same thing happened again. The old woman came in the middle of the night in a whirlwind, and put them all to sleep. She stole the child and struck the mother on the mouth, which made it bleed. In the morning there was a stir, and the servant maid, who was jealous, said the mother had eaten the child. All believed it, as her mouth was covered with blood. And besides, what could be expected of a girl brought out of the wood? So she was tried again, and condemned to be hanged. Invitations were sent out to all the grand folk to come and see her hanged. So many fine carriages came driving up. At last, just before the time, there came a very grand carriage, all of gold, which glistened in the sun. In it were the old woman and 2 children, dressed in fine clothes with the king's star on them. When the Queen saw this grand carriage, she got her speech and sang, "Do spare me till I see that grand carriage." The old woman came into the courtyard and asked the people if they saw any likeness to anyone in the children. They said they were like the Prince, and asked her how she came by them, and told her that she had stolen them. She said that she had not stolen them, she had taken them, for they were her own. The Prince had taken away her daughter without her leave, and so she had taken his children. But she was willing to give them back, if they would allow that she was right. So they consented, and the old woman made the Prince and his Queen a present of the grand carriage, and so they lived happily. The old woman was allowed to come and see the children whenever she liked, but the servant girl who had said the Queen had eaten her babies was hanged. End of section 78.
Section 79 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Linda Ferguson. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webbe Dasent. Section 79. The Dancing Gang. A water carrier once went to the river to fetch water. She dipped in her calabash and brought out a crayfish. The crayfish began beating his claws on the calabash, and played such a beautiful tune that the girl began dancing and could not stop. The driver of the gang wondered why she did not come, and sent another to see after her. When she came, she too began to dance, so the driver sent another, who also began to dance when she heard the music and the crayfish singing, "Vatsy, Vatsy, O'Sullivan, stay for us, how long will you stay for us?" Then the driver sent another, and another, till he had sent the whole gang. At last he went himself, and when he found the whole gang dancing, he too began to dance, and they all danced till night, when the crayfish went back into the water, and if they haven't done dancing, they are dancing still. End of section 79. Recording by Linda Ferguson. End of Popular Tales from the Norse by George Dasent.